Don't scroll. Under 45? 4 silent habits are stealing your energy. See why one bad night derails you, how to stop the sit-and-lose spiral, and the tiny nutrient. Stay till the end, grab the one-page checklist, and start one action today.
What if I told you that some of your daily habits, the things you do without even thinking, might be quietly sabotaging your future health? Well, according to one endocrinologist, there are 5 really common habits that people under 45 fall into that can seriously impact their long-term well-being. So, let's dive in and see what they are. It's kind of a heavy question, right? But the reality is, the choices we're making today are literally building the body we're going to live in for decades. The good news, though, just knowing what the mistakes are is the absolute first step to fixing them. Right? So this isn't just some random list pulled from the internet. This is based on real clinical observation, seeing the patterns that unfortunately lead to chronic illness down the road. And they really fall into 2 big categories: mistakes in how we live our lives, and just as important, a failure to do the basic things that protect us. So, here's the game plan, the 5 key areas we're going to break down: the sleep debt, the inactivity trap, the sugar spiral, some hidden deficiencies you need to know about, and finally, proactive prevention. Let's start with the one that, let's be honest, probably gets most of us. First up, sacrificing sleep. In our crazy 24/7 world, sleep is often the first thing we cut, but treating sleep like a luxury instead of the biological necessity it is, well, it has huge consequences that go way, way beyond just feeling a little groggy the next morning. Let's get into what's actually going on when your head hits the pillow. Deep sleep, this is where the real physical magic happens. You can think of it as your body's overnight repair crew. They come in to fix all the tiny bits of damage from the day, they regulate critical hormones, and they literally train your immune cells for whatever's coming tomorrow. But here's the thing, your sleep isn't just one big block of time, it's a super carefully structured process. In the first half of the night, your body is all about that deep sleep, doing all that physical repair work, lowering stress, and making growth hormone. But then, as you get closer to morning, the focus shifts to REM sleep. That's for the mental heavy lifting, processing emotions, locking in memories, and boosting your creativity. If you mess with that schedule, you throw the whole delicate balance completely out of whack. And check this out. One of the most critical jobs of deep sleep is running your brain's own personal cleaning service. It's called the glymphatic system. It only really gets to work when you're deeply asleep, flushing out all this toxic gunk that builds up while you're awake. So if you're constantly cutting your sleep short, that cleanup just doesn't happen properly. That's where that brain fog feeling comes from. And over the long haul, it's linked to some pretty serious neurodegenerative diseases. And the impact is immediate. It is shocking, actually. Just one night of bad sleep can slam the brakes on your metabolism, slowing it down by as much as 30%. That creates a major energy crisis, and your body's solution to that is, well, it's pretty simple. It makes you go find quick energy. So you end up eating an extra 150 to 300 calories without even really thinking about it. Now imagine doing that day after day, week after week. You can see how chronic sleep debt is a direct path to weight gain. Okay, and that leads us right into mistake number 2, which is often tied to the first one, the inactivity trap. When we're tired from bad sleep, we're way less likely to move, and that just creates this nasty, vicious cycle. But honestly, our modern desk job lifestyle is a huge problem all by itself. I want you to really let this quote sink in for a minute. As recently as 1953, a scientist pointed out that for the first time in all of human history, we have to intentionally plan to be active just to stay healthy. For every generation before us, moving around was just a non-negotiable part of staying alive. And this chart, yeah, it tells a story that probably looks super familiar to a lot of us. Our physical activity is at its peak in our late teens and early 20s, but then life gets in the way. Work, family, all the obligations, and it just starts this slow, steady decline. And here's the crucial part. After about age 25, our bodies basically switch from building mode to decline mode. If you're not doing regular physical activity, and we're talking especially about things like lifting weights or even just body weight exercises, you lose about 1% of your muscle and bone mass every single year. It's this slow, silent erosion of your strength that just picks up speed like crazy later in life. All right, moving on to mistake number 3, the sugar spiral. And look, we're not just talking about the obvious stuff like candy bars and soda. We're talking about the insane amount of sugar and high glycemic foods that are hiding in everything and the damage they're doing from the inside out. So here's how the damage actually happens. It's a process called glycation. The best way to think about it is that your body's proteins are literally getting caramelized. These extra sugar molecules latch onto vital proteins, like the collagen that keeps your skin firm and your joints flexible. This makes them stiff, brittle, and they just don't work right anymore. On the outside, that looks like wrinkles. On the inside, it means stiff joints and damage to your organs. And it doesn't stop there. When you're constantly dumping sugar into your system, you're basically feeding the bad guys in your gut. You're letting the harmful microbes throw a party and take over. This messes up your entire system, tanking your immunity, messing with your mood, and creating a nasty cycle where you just crave more and more sugar. Now, mistake number 4 is a little more subtle. It's not about what you're doing wrong, but what you might be missing completely. A hidden deficiency that affects a massive number of people and they don't even know it. We're talking about iodine. Because of changes in our diets and how we farm, a lot of us just aren't getting enough of this absolutely crucial mineral. Your thyroid gland, the master controller of your metabolism, it runs on this stuff. It needs it to make its hormones. Without enough iodine, you can run into a whole host of serious problems, from a sluggish thyroid and brain fog to an increased risk for autoimmune disease. And all of this brings us to the final and maybe the most important mistake people under 45 make. They live reactively. They wait for a problem to snowball into a full-blown disease before they do anything about it. I mean, think about it this way. Would you rather patch a tiny leak in your roof or wait until the whole ceiling caves in during a rainstorm? It's the exact same idea with your health. The whole point of prevention is to catch those tiny leaks, those little imbalances, long before they become a 5-alarm fire. And your annual checkup is the single best tool you have for that. Part of being proactive is just making sure you have a solid nutritional foundation. For most people, these 4 are considered a non-negotiable daily starting point. You've got vitamin D, especially if you don't get a lot of sun, magnesium for hundreds of different body processes, omega-3 to fight inflammation, and vitamin C for your immune system. Okay, so let's wrap this all up. The path to great long-term health isn't about some heroic giant leap. It's about these small, consistent steps, day in and day out. Make sleep your non-negotiable foundation. Weave movement into your daily life. Be ruthless about getting added sugar out of your diet. Think about your iodine intake. And please, just schedule that annual checkup to stay ahead of the game. Look, I know seeing a list like this can feel a little overwhelming, so don't try to change everything all at once. Just ask yourself this simple question. What is the one thing, just one, that you can commit to changing starting today for the person you want to be in 10, 20, or 30 years? Pick that one thing and just start there. Your future self will be so glad you did. All right, quick recap of today's rules for a healthier you. 5 habits that sabotage you before 45, sleep debt, too much sitting, sugar overload, iodine gaps, and living reactively without checkups. Takeaway: tiny daily moves win. Protect your sleep, add steps, tame sugar, mind your micronutrients, and book that annual screening. I'm wishing you steady energy and a calm mind. If this helped, subscribe, tap like, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Question of the day. What one change will you start today? Drop it in the comments. I read them all.